Greetings, citizens! You're now trapped in the NerdCage with your hosts Marq and Jay. We hope you have a smashing good time.
Yes, hello and welcome. That's right, you're trapped in NerdCage Live. This ain't just a reaction show, but a debate show and a live discussion on everything that makes people like you and I tick. So thank you for joining us tonight. Please hit the like button and subscribe. I'm your co-host, Jay St. G, coming to you live from Syracuse, New York, and always with me, my man, the Fiend from Louisville, Mark Withers. What's shaking, boss?
What's going on, man? Super excited to be here as usual. And I don't know about you guys, but I do not want to waste any time. Jay, I know you took a road trip this weekend to go see New Mutants because the theaters in New York are still not open, but they are open in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
So that's dedication, man. But yeah, I don't want to waste any more time. I've been chomping at the bit to try to find out exactly what this movie was and how good it was. So yeah, let us know what you thought of it, man. What did you think?
Okay, I did post on the Facebook, on the NerdCage Facebook page, I did a live reaction of walking out of the theater. So I saw a lot of people saw that, so thank you for viewing that. So I'm just going to echo what I said when I walked out of the theater and I took more time to think about it. The movie wasn't good. Wow. It wasn't downright terrible, and again, I avoided all the reviews and the spoilers. I didn't want to be swayed, but the movie was not downright awful, and it's far from the worst X-Men movie, but it's not great, far from the best. So it's middle of the pack X-Men for me. Right. I mean, it's better than your Apocalypse, your X-Men 3, your Wolverine prequels, but it's better than those, and that's just basically it. I'm just gonna start with the positives. Okay, let's start with the positives. Right. I loved the cast. I love all five of the main cast members. They were great. The woman running the facility, she was awesome too. Again, great. It was a great cast. I loved their chemistry. Though I just feel bad other than Maisie Williams, like the other ones really haven't been in much. I kind of feel bad that they were kind of stooped out of their opportunity because of the craziness behind the scenes of this movie, and obviously with the delays and everything. Right. But they were great. They're great characters, great chemistry. They had their moments, and they had great moments. There are moments in this movie that just made me cheer. I'm like, yes! I'm like, yes, this is awesome. And then for every great moment, there's like, oh, come on, and oh, really? Right. The special effects were spotty, to say the least. There was a lot of awkward cuts, between scenes. There's some awkward cuts there. They shamelessly stole stock footage from another X-Men movie. It was actually Logan. You'll know it when you see it.
Oh wow!
It was shameless.
Does it reference Logan at all? Well, I guess it wouldn't.
No. Okay, so obviously we know X-Men's kind of got a convoluted timeline. From what I gather, this definitely takes place in the same timeline as like X-Men Apocalypse, X-Men Dark Phoenix. They clearly make reference to the X-Men. As you know, the character Magic, she's Colossus's little sister. Right. Polar opposites, by the way. And Sunspot was really cool. For those who don't know who Sunspot is, he was briefly in Days of Future Past. Right. He was he's like the Human Torch of X-Men pretty much, but he doesn't fly. But what's cool about his version is that since he's a younger version, he doesn't know how to control his powers, because basically every time, I'm trying to put this appropriate, every time he gets like aroused is when he can't control his body heat and the so he can't, like, he's learned to control his powers, but he can't. So like I said, there's some really great, like I said, I liked the characters. I liked, they were cool, their powers were awesome. But and like I said, they had a great chemistry on screen, but it's just, like I said, the story was good. It just wasn't executed very well, and the finale was very underwhelming. Okay. So, it's just, again, it's a middle of the pack X-Men movie. And here's what really sucks though, is there were seeds planted. There were seeds planted of what we could expect if the Disney merger never happened. There are seeds planted that would lead to like bigger things in the X-Men universe or the New Mutants universe, and unfortunately we're not going to get that. I won't go into spoilers, I'll give it away, but for what we know, here's the thing. For some of the X-Men villains that we didn't get that we all wanted, seeds were planted there, and they were building up to it. And it's just unfortunately we're not going to get it. So if this merger never happened, I would have loved to seen another New Mutants or another chapter in the X-Men saga. It just sucks, we're not going to get it.
Right, and that's kind of on par with some of the other reviews that I've kind of seen. With like, I know that I think Emergency Awesome kind of gave a review, and Jeremy Johns kind of said something similar. Yeah. Let me ask you this though, because this was touted, when before the merger, when they were still working on it. Yes. Josh Boone had said that this was going to be a sort of a merging of comic book genre and horror. Does it do either one of those particularly well?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because you just re-triggered something in my mind here. So I remember when I first saw the New Mutants trailer back in 2016. I forgot what movie I went to go see, but that trailer came out of nowhere, and it looked spooky, and you saw like these Nightmare on Elm Street elements and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So there was stuff I remember from those trailers that you didn't see in this movie.
Really?
So I am wondering if like this movie, obviously there's got to be multiple cuts of this movie.
Right.
There were some like spooky scenes, but it wasn't like terrifying. There was nothing terrifying about it. I'm sure that's what Disney kind of like maybe had their hands on it, saying, sure, hey, this is too horror or too dark. You need to tone this down. I bet you that's what happened, because it wasn't, I mean, some of the horror elements were there, but it just wasn't like terrifying, or it didn't give the same vibe that the original trailer did. Right. Fun fact, keeping it in the horror realm, so the voice of like those monsters you see in the trailer there is actually Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson is in this. Yes, Marilyn Manson is in if you want to be technical, a Disney movie. No, I was watching the credits, and there it was, the voice of the blah 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 monsters, Marilyn Manson. I'm like, wow. I mean, I didn't recognize, the voice, but yeah, Marilyn Manson is in this movie.
Right. Now,
and another thing, they filmed this movie in Massachusetts.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of neat that it wasn't filmed in your typical Hollywood or somewhere else. It was, I mean, obviously the budget of this movie was small because it was basically in one location the whole time.
Right.
This asylum that they're in, and there's more to the asylum. Again, I don't want to give it away. But yeah, like I said, there were some elements there. It's just, like I said, the horror element that we were all expecting, I didn't really get that. I mean, they were sprinkled in there, but it wasn't like a scary movie. At least I didn't think it was. I mean, if I had kids, I wouldn't have had a problem taking my kids to see this.
Right. So we're not like, when they say scary, we're not talking in terms of like, intense gore or any kind of like really like suspenseful, like jump.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the suspense, right. I mean, there were moments, but not like, it wasn't like centralized. Like when I saw the trailer, I thought this was going to be like a centralized, like this is going to be these mutants trapped in the asylum and it's going to be terrifying. That really wasn't necessarily what we got.
Right. Okay, well, let me ask you this then. I know that it's sort of like a so-so, movie in your opinion, that is sort of the consensus among a lot of pundits, among a lot of the critics. As someone who hasn't gone to a theater yet,
I'm glad you brought that up. That's a good way to wrap this part up.
Would you say that this is worth going into a theater versus just kind of waiting until you have a PVOD experience? Is there something about this that would make it better to see it in a theater?
Okay, here's the thing. If you have a local theater not far from you, why not go?
Right.
Because it felt good for me. It felt great to see a movie in the movie theater. I was so happy to go walk into a theater and enjoy the movie. But here's the thing. I drove 2 hours from Syracuse, New York, 81 South, all the way to Scranton, Pennsylvania. It was a 2-hour drive for me. I think if it was somebody else that drove, they probably would have been really, really mad that they drove all the way there and drove all the way back. Me, like I was like, I want to see a movie. I was starving for a movie, and again, I'm a Regal, a Regal movie pass holder. But yeah, it was. So yeah, I tell everybody this movie is definitely a VOD. This movie should have been put to VOD, but if you have a local theater that's open and if you're willing to, I don't want to say, as far as saying taking the risk, if you're willing to go out and see it, go. Now listen, I felt safe personally at Regal because one, it was dead. There's barely anybody there. There's maybe 6 other people in the giant IMAX theater, so I felt safe. Regal is doing the extra precautions. Like, they spent more time cleaning the theater prior to the movie. They don't let you sit down until 10 minutes before the movie. Because they spent that much time sanitizing everything. Obviously, mask, obviously everything else. So the movie theater itself did its thing on trying to keep it, under protocol, keeping everybody safe. But but if it was a packed theater, I maybe would have felt a little different. But since the movie wasn't packed, I felt okay. So so I just tell for everybody who wants to see this in theaters, if you don't want to risk it, then don't feel bad. I think if you wait till VOD would be the better move.
Okay. All right, that's good to know. And then the last thing I wanted to ask you, I know that you talked about some of the guidelines and stuff like that. Were there any capacity guidelines or anything like that? Any capacity rules? So let's say if it was a packed theater, they would just let as many people as wanted to see it just go in there versus it being a 50% or 25% capacity.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think there was, because you would think maybe they'd have tape over every other seat.
Right.
No, they didn't. It was all open. But I mean, obviously, I bought a seat behind the walkway on the end. So okay. I specifically picked a seat where I know I was going to be safe. Okay, if I pick a seat at the very end of the row there, the worst case scenario would be one person sitting next to me instead of two. So
gotcha.
But yeah, I don't think there was any capacity guidelines. If there was, I didn't see. So I don't know if they're I don't know if every state's going to enforce that or not.
Okay. Well, that's good to know for those of us that have not yet gone into a theater. I know that here in Kentucky, our theaters just opened up this weekend, I believe. So I didn't get a chance to go see New Mutants or anything else, but probably in the very near future, I'm going to go check that stuff out. So so that's really good to know that at least they're doing what they can to make sure that we're all safe and everything's sort of sanitized. So with that down, let's talk about a movie that both you and I watched earlier today.
Yes.
And that is Bill and Ted Face the Music. Now, I, for one, really enjoyed it, even a lot more than I thought I was going to.
Did I.
Yeah, the storyline was much different than what I kind of anticipated, what I thought they were going to do. I think they did a really good job with it. What did you think of it?
It was fun. And I guess it was here's the thing, Keanu Reeves at this point, he's a huge A-lister now. He had no reason to go back to Bill and Ted. The fact that he did and wanted to do this, and you could tell they were having fun on set. You could tell that they were having fun with this movie. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good updated version of the old ones, as well as where are Bill and Ted now? I really liked it. It was really good. It was a fun movie. The special effects were solid for what it was for such a small budget, and again, it was fun. All the tropes were there. They're two likable dudes at a different time in their life, and I enjoyed it. And there was a great cameo in there, and then there was a great I just thought it was a solid movie. I mean, I wasn't asking for a Bill and Ted 3, but I'm glad we got it.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel about it. By no means is this a perfect movie. It's not something that hits it out of the park. It's not necessarily a must see. But as far as there being a part 3 to a movie that we haven't seen the characters in 25 years, I think that they did a fantastic job. I mean, and shout out to Alex Winter for being able to maintain that character, to reprise it so perfectly. I mean, we all kind of expected Keanu to do what he does, but Alex Winter, I really believed that he was really like that. And the two actresses that played their daughters, Samara Weaving and Bridget Lundy Payne, who played Billy and Thea. I think they were awesome.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, so this was the kind of movie that, if you go into it sort of embracing the silliness, you'll have a really good time with it. And I really liked, without giving any spoilers, I really liked that there was a twist. There's this part of the movie towards the end where you're just Oh, okay. You know, so, you know, for me, it checked all the necessary boxes, and then it had a few surprises that were really enjoyable. You know, I really like Death in this movie too. Like, you know, I wish that there was more of him in it.
I know. I was going to say it was a kind of a small role for him.
Yeah, but I loved I loved that sort of like recap of their falling out and sort of like what happened afterwards and like why they weren't talking to each other. Like that was a really funny moment, and I just kind of wish that they had done a little bit more with that character. But aside from that, I mean, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, fun fact, so everybody knows here, Bill and Ted has a post-credit scenes. New Mutants does not. Just so everyone knows.
Right. So don't be waiting.
Yeah, exactly. Here's something cool though. Mark and I, we just talked about it off air, is Tosin Abasi from Animals as Leaders actually did the guitar lick for the the air solo that the characters do. Which was a nice little touch there, because back in the old movies, it was Stevie Vai who did that, and now, we got the guy from Animals as Leaders who did that. So I thought that was a really nice touch to it. Yeah,
it's always nice when like the current generation kind of like, gives a nod to years past. And so that is a cool little fun fact. I actually learned a fun fact today too, and that is the actress that plays Thea, Samara Weaving. She is the niece of Hugo Weaving, which everybody knows as Agent from The Matrix. So, it's just like keeping it in the family, I thought that was kind of a fun fact to find out.
Yeah, no, like I said, you pretty much nailed it on the head there. It's not, like I said, it's a movie. It's an enjoyable movie. Nothing to, for the cows to come home. It's a silly movie. Don't take it serious. If you enjoy the first two movies, you'll definitely enjoy this. There's no reason not to. There are some touching moments, though. I mean, I'm not giving any spoilers away, but in the very beginning of the movie, where like they're kind of being told like, "Hey, we're too old to be doing this and this and that," which is very relatable to a lot of dudes who like can't not like I'm saying that they can't grow up, but like they're so into like their passion that, and they see that it's not really going anywhere, and there's just this moment where Keanu is just like, it's like, yeah, I got an offer for my guitar, and he goes, "Wow, you really gonna do that?" And like, I mean, that moment, my heart kind of sank a little bit, because it's like they're coming to terms with their reality, they're coming to terms with their age, and it's just like, man, like there are like moments like that where it's just like, ooh, man, it kind of hits home a little bit, like, wow,
Yeah, I mean, that part kind of reminded me a lot of like Bad Boys for Life, where, these guys have been doing this for so long together, and what happens when one of them is like, well, I don't know if I should keep doing this, I mean, like, I think it might be time to like stop. That was a very similar, like that moment, that scene was like very reminiscent of that, and also very relatable as, someone who has kind of been in that position. I'm a former musician, and there reached a point in my life where I was just like, well, should I really be still trying to do shows? And I mean, so so I completely connected with that too. So I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, so like I said, there's moments like that, and it's just like, okay, and of course, like, it's just amazing, like, these characters haven't skipped a beat. It's been over 25, 30 years since we've last seen them, and it's just like, it's still Bill and Ted. It's still their goofy selves. They're the BX to each other, and dude, and like, it's just the silliness was still there. So it's cool that like, and what's really nice about the movie that I was thinking to myself too is like that they did have, they got married, they had their families, but what's really cool is that they stayed friends all these years. They stayed together all these years, even when their band fell apart, they still maintained their friendship. So it's just nice, because I still got friends in my life where it's like, yeah, they got their families and stuff, but we still hang out. I got other friends that they had their families, they moved away, I don't see or even talk to them anymore. Like, it was kind of nice to see that these guys who grew up together also got married, had their families, but they still maintained their friendship, and that was really a nice thing to see.
Yeah,
it just shows that you can still keep your friendships even if you have your families.
Right. My friends and I have a saying that like, if you've been friends with somebody for more than 10 years, they become family. And so if this is actually, if our real time is along the same lines as theirs, and we're talking 25, 26 years, then they're no longer just buddies, they're brothers. And so, I can certainly relate to that because I have people in my life that I've known since the 80s and they're still in my life, and it's, it's very special. It's very rare that, you get that. But when you do have those kind of friendships, you don't want to give them up. So that part of it, I agree with was, I think that was pretty special. And another special moment to me, at least, was, they had George Carlin in there as a short cameo.
Very short cameo. And it was early. It's not a spoiler because it was early on too. It was like one of the very first things they showed. Yeah,
it's not central to the story or anything like that, but they just have him in there briefly. And I thought that was a nice nod, a nice respectful, honorable nod to him. And it kind of made the movie that much better, even though it was only like 30 seconds.
Yeah. So yeah, so my consensus of going back to New Mutants real quick, I'd give that one about 5 out of 10, whereas I give Bill and Ted 8 out of 10 is my humble opinion here. And I think Bill and Ted, I don't know what the box office numbers are looking like, but right now New Mutants is like projected like 8 to 10 million. I don't know but the thing is, I have a feeling that Bill and Ted's gonna make more money than New Mutants will.
Yeah, according to IMDb, the weekend's not out yet, but sort of the current box office numbers are showing it at it's showing it at the number 3 position. I think Unhinged is like a little bit ahead of it, and I'm not sure what the number 1 film is right now, but it's actually doing well, even in the select theaters in the box office numbers. Yeah. So, I think this movie is probably going to exceed everybody's expectations in terms of its earnings. Yeah. And it might be that canary in the coal mine that we're actually looking for. Everybody's sort of looking to Mulan for that. But I think it might actually be this movie.
Yeah, not only that, but and we kind of touched base a little bit about it, but honestly, this is probably not a good start to the box office right now, but I'm hoping that this is like a glimmer of hope that, hey, people are going to the movies, so I'm hoping that other movies that are coming out will be like, okay, so there are people going to the movies, but are we ready yet? Do we want to postpone or do we want to stand pat? So yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. We're really living in interesting times right now. I'm glad that I don't have too far to go to see a movie. I really wish New York State would reopen as far as theaters goes. Same with California.
Right.
I don't know what other states are so closed, but as far as I know, New York. I know it's New York and California because John Campia posted a vlog his road trip to Nevada. So I'm like, okay, good. I'm not alone. So I'm not the only crazy one driving across state borders to see a movie.
Right. But that's a really good sign. You know what I mean? Like I was one of the people that kind of thought that, when theaters open, it would really be ghost town, that nobody would want to go because of COVID, and that it would basically be like this harbinger of not necessarily the end of the theater industry, but it would be this really dark sign as far as these theaters being able to hold on. And it's nice to know that there are enough of us cinephiles out there that are willing to get in their car and drive across state lines to go see some of these movies and go out and support and kind of keep the industry going. So, we knew that it would be sort of a slow ramp up as far as once these theaters open, that we knew the numbers would be low for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But I think that it's really good that they're actually turning out to be a lot better, a lot higher than expected.
Yeah, I know. I was just a little surprised because the theater that I was expecting it to be packed. Honestly, I mean, Scranton, Pennsylvania is it's definitely not a small city. It's probably what, the 3rd biggest city in Pennsylvania. So next to Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, I think Scranton's probably not far. But I was expecting more people in there. I went on a 5:30 on a Saturday, so I thought for sure there would be a lot more people there. But like I said, there was maybe 6 people there. But when I saw the numbers, 8 to 10 million, which I was like, okay, so that's not downright terrible. I mean, that's more than I was kind of expecting. And then we'll go back to John Camper real quick because we got a little bit of time here.
Sure.
So he talked about, this is when the pandemic started. remember that like the CGI Trolls movie, the
World Tour, yeah.
Yeah. So that movie put out 20 million on its first weekend there, and John Camp was talking about, like, I know it doesn't sound a lot to you guys, but I think that's really impressive. Now to me, that seems more impressive because New Mutants is projected to finish 8 to 10 million, whereas Trolls started off with 20 million, not going in the theater. So I just feel like Disney kind of screwed the pooch on this one, where I think they should have put New Mutants on video on demand. I think it probably would have made a little more money, or at least put both VOD and theater, kind of like what Bill and Ted did.
Right. And who knows? I mean, I'm sure that those conversations had, probably taken place, but we all know how theaters feel about day and date releases. They don't like to do it often. And so I know that, like we discussed a few minutes ago, there was a contractual obligation to release New Mutants in whatever capacity, but it had to have a theatrical release. So I think that they're not necessarily concerned with how well it does, because Disney spent no money on this movie.
I know.
It's a post. It was
and
done.
I hate seeing the 20th Century Studios logo, and I hate it. It's the second time I've seen it, and I'm not over it yet. I saw it. So when I saw the CGI Saint Bernard movie, the Call of the Wild, shout out to Matt Farden, who was in that movie. Again, 20th Century Studios. I'm still not used to seeing that. I'm still used to seeing 20th Century Fox. So this is the second movie I've seen where I see the 20th Century Studios logo, and it's just like, oh, it's still kind of hard to swallow.
Like single tear comes down. It's like, oh, the good old days.
It's just like, this is not 20th century. It's like, it's not. It's Disney. Like, it's
right.
I just feel like it's not a good disguise. That's all.
Yeah. And honestly, here's a question.
Yes.
Now we know that when Dark Phoenix came out, it performed so poorly, and it was critically panned, and we know that Disney had the reaction of like, well, there's no reason to keep Fox open then. Like that was sort of the nail in the coffin as far as like keeping Fox open as a separate house. Do you think that the situation would have been any different if they had released New Mutants instead of Dark Phoenix at that time? Because we know that it was finished at the time.
That's the thing. I feel like, and we kind of predicted this. I mentioned on our show that Dark Phoenix may be the reason why New Mutants is gonna fail.
Right.
I feel like it's true. I really feel like New Mutants was really derailed not only by the postponements and the merger, but Dark Phoenix. And again, I liked Dark Phoenix. I'm not going to defend the movie, but I liked it. But this movie, I feel like, honestly, I like Dark Phoenix more than I like New Mutants, if you want my honest opinion.
Wow.
But like, yeah.
I hated Dark Phoenix. I hated it.
Yeah, I have a feeling you're not going to like New Mutants, so I'm just warning you right now. So I just feel like I really feel like Dark Phoenix is the one that kind of like derailed. And again, this is coming off Apocalypse, which I didn't like.
Right.
So I feel like these last three X-Men movies, ever since, I feel like Logan was like the way to end it. And then
they should have capped it with that one. That would have been the best way to go out. That
would have been the best way to go out. Exactly. Dark Phoenix again. I feel like derailed New Mutants quite a bit, and now we're obviously seeing the results. So
yeah, that's a shame. But to segue into the next topic, I mean, now that New Mutants has sort of finally had its day, had its due, what are some other movies that you're going to be looking forward to? I know that Tenet is high on both of our radars, but is there anything else out there that's coming out soon that you're sort of chomping at the bit, where you're just like, I gotta see this in the theater?
Kingsman comes out September 18th. If the time and the money's there, I'm probably gonna make that trip again. Now that I've done this trip, I know where to go. It's an easy trip for me. I've always wanted to see Kingsman. Even though I hated the second Kingsman movie, this one still looks great to me. I would probably go drive to see it, but that's not like my number one. That's just like the next one that's coming out.
Right.
For me right now, it's neck and neck for me. But number ones for me, Wonder Woman 84 and No Time to Die. I really, really pray right now that it happens because I really want to see these in the theater.
Right. I think for me, I agree with you on that Wonder Woman 84. Obviously, you know, you can see the thing behind me here. You know, I'm a super fan. I'm a huge fan of Wonder Woman, probably the best part of the DCEU. I'm really looking forward to the continuation of that story. I want to see what Patty Jenkins does, you know, with the character. I want to see how Steve Trevor comes back. And so I really think that is going to be one of those movies that is going to be better translated in a theater versus like a VOD situation. Yeah. So I'm most looking forward to that. But I'm also looking forward to Dune, which comes out at the end of the year. And I'm hearing all of these things about, you know, it's not budging, but they're scrambling to sort of make sure that it's completed.
There have been talks, but it hasn't been made ever since. You know how obviously Warner Brothers just made all the layoffs and stuff. Right. So now they're in talks of right now what are we going to do with Dune, what are we going to do with Godzilla versus Kong. There are rumblings right now, but nothing confirmed. But as of right now, Wonder Woman's still solidified for October, and No Time to Die and Disney Pixar Soul is still solidified for November. I hope they happen. My only worry is I have a feeling that Warner Brothers is looking at these New Mutants numbers and they're like, I don't know if we should do it. So that's what worries me. Yeah,
and I think you know, a much bigger factor, particularly with Dune, is that Denis Villeneuve, I think is how you pronounce his name. Forgive me if I'm butchering his name. I mean, he actually came out recently and said that the movie's not done and that they're actually on a, like, basically it's a race against time to get it done because they really want to keep that date. And so that's the part that worries me. I would rather them take their time and give us the movie that we expect, even if they have to push it back 3 months, 6 months. You know, they've really built this up to be this grand epic, and I would hate for them to cut corners just to make sure that it comes out in November. And so, you know, I'm you know, that's my biggest fear, a much bigger fear than for any of these films to get pushed back because of COVID or any other sort of environmental factors. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's, you know, like I said, I mean, we had to start somewhere, and who knew Mutants was going to be the movie to kind of kick things off.
Well, technically Unhinged, right? Because Unhinged came out like a week, 2 weeks ago, and you know, it hasn't been. I mean, I think it's been performing well, but I think the critics are not liking it. You know, basically saying that, you know, it's not a very well scripted movie. That, you know, that Russell Crowe is great in it, but it's just not very well written. I was excited for that movie until I kind of heard that, and now I'm just like, well, maybe I should wait on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up the show, but we can't wrap it up without talking about the tragedy that happened on Friday. As everyone knows already, we lost a phenomenal actor in Chadwick Boseman on Friday after a 4-year battle to cancer.
Unbelievable. And the fact that he kept that so under wraps, he kept it quiet from you know, almost everyone during that time. I think it's incredibly heroic that he didn't, you know, that he didn't kind of use that as a means of, you know, getting sympathy or, you know, slowing down his pace or anything like that. And the fact that he gave us like one of my favorite movies. I mean, I'm wearing the shirt right now, you know, like, you know, something that was a cultural phenomenon. Like, he actually gave us a fantastic performance while, you know, going through chemotherapy and going through surgeries and stuff like that. And the thing that's
amazing too that no one's talking about is, like, during, like, obviously, like, this was for 4 years he was battling this. Well, during that 4 years, look what he put out. Civil War, Black Panther, and he was swole, he was jacked, he was like,
exactly.
Like, how did he maintain that ripped body, you know, and doing chemo and everything else? Like, wow.
Yeah, and I mean, not just Black Panther, but I mean, you look at, you know, the Five Bloods, 21 Bridges, you know, Get On Up, like, you know, he had no signs, no outward signs that anything was wrong. And so, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, it's a tremendous loss, not only to the film community, but to the comic book, community, to, nerd culture in general. I mean, this is, I'm definitely feeling this one personally. And I know a lot of people are too.
Black Panther fan, I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just remember I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. So when Civil War first came out, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I mean, after rewatching Civil War, I really don't think it's that great of a movie. But I remember walking out of the theater saying the best part of Civil War was Black Panther.
Yes.
And then I think that's kind of what helped the Black Panther movie, because I think everyone was excited for that character. And then lo and behold, Black Panther comes out and makes $1 billion. But
right,
man, I just remember walking out of Civil War, man, he was the best part of that movie. So then I went back and watched his other movies. I didn't realize that he played Jackie Robinson. I didn't realize, that he wasn't a household name yet, but I did see the movie 42, which is a great movie. He played Jackie Robinson. I feel and he didn't get enough credit for it, because Harrison Ford is the one that got the Academy Award nomination, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
He didn't get it, which is a travesty, because I thought he was phenomenal as Jackie Robinson. Again, if you're a sports fan, everybody knows who Jackie Robinson is. And of course, I'm proud to say this as a Syracuse native, that Chadwick Boseman was also in the movie that was filmed in Syracuse years ago, well over a decade ago, called The Express,
right,
which was about Heisman winner Ernie Davis. Chadwick Boseman, who was not famous at the time, he was kind of up-and-coming name. He played Syracuse legend Floyd Little, who I met before, by the way. But yeah, he was in Syracuse and played Floyd Little in the movie The Express years ago. Mark, you have to go back. You have to watch this movie.
I'm definitely gonna be watching that. I'll probably spend the better part of this week watching his entire filmography, if I can.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch 21 Bridges tomorrow. I'm wanting to see that movie. I keep putting it off. Well, now I'm making it a priority. I'm gonna watch 21 Bridges either today or tomorrow.
Yeah. And, shout out to some of the other actors that have sort of helped him along the way. I was reading a little bit about him today and discovered that Felicia Rashad from The Cosby Show played Claire Huxtable. She was one of his professors in college. She taught a drama class. She was one of his instructors. And that this story.
Yes, I know this.
So he got accepted to a summer program at Oxford, but he couldn't afford to go. And so she kind of enlisted the aid of some of her friends to sort of fund his expenses for that program, one of whom is your favorite actor.
Yes. I knew about this.
Yeah. I just thought that was such an interesting piece of trivia. And, what a great way for Denzel to sort of pay it forward, and look how it paid off. He sort of gave, he's responsible for sort of giving the world, a really great actor, someone who's really committed to the craft, and someone who brought one of my favorite superheroes to life. And so, that's another reason that I think Denzel's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm just, I'm going to, and like I said, I want to go back to Get On Up. The one thing, okay, listen, I'm not going to say it's good as it's definitely not as good as Straight Outta Compton or even Ray. But one thing I loved about Get On Up is that it was honest, because it didn't exactly paint James Brown in the positive light, because James Brown has a record of all these arrests and domestic violence and stuff. So they did not take that stuff out. They had that in the movie. And of course, what way to open? The movie opens with the bathroom incident from 1993.
Right.
I'm like, wow, they opened up the movie with that.
Right.
But yeah, Get On Up, man. It's another one everyone should check out, because if you're a James Brown fan, you gotta check it out. On top of that, like I said, the movie is honest. It's not painting. I mean, it talks about his accomplishments, yes, but it doesn't paint James Brown in the positive light. It's honest. So that's one thing I can appreciate about that movie.
Right. And I agree. I like Get On Up a whole lot. Another movie that I don't think he gets a ton of credit for, because his role wasn't he wasn't the lead in this movie, but The Five Bloods.
Yes!
Now, you know how I feel about that movie. I love everything about it.
Yeah, it's good.
And his role is it's not a small role. It's not like it's a cameo, but he definitely wasn't the lead in it. He was like in a lot of the flashbacks. But they were powerful scenes, particularly that last sort of scene where he's sort of, I don't know if I should really get into it, but I don't think that it really destroys the narrative. But there's a powerful scene with him and Delroy Lindo where Delroy's character kind of feels tremendous guilt. And so, it's an incredibly poignant scene. I think that he really did his part to deliver in that. And I don't think that he gets enough credit for that. So anybody who hasn't seen that movie, it's on Netflix. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed it. I loved it. It was it's definitely worth the watch. So yeah, I mean, to wrap this all up, I mean, it's tragic. It really is. I'm not gonna lie to you. I wasn't shocked by the news when you told me because, as some people may know, there were pictures of Chadwick a few months ago.
Right.
And he didn't look healthy. I had no idea it was cancer, but he didn't look healthy, and I was I was worried about him. And then, so when the news struck, I wasn't. I was saddened, but I wasn't shocked.
I was shocked because I thought that, I saw the pictures just like you did a few months ago, and he was very, he was emaciated, didn't look in particularly good health. But I thought that he was doing that for a role, maybe, we've seen other actors do that. Christian Bale, Edward Norton, a few other actors, come to mind, Donnie Wahlberg. So, we've seen actors kind of emaciate themselves to sort of get this dramatic look for a part. And I really just kind of just put it to that, like, there must be some movie coming out where he plays someone who's that thin. And, it never occurred to me that he might be sick. And so when I heard the news, I immediately thought it was a rumor. I thought, I took to Google immediately to just see if it was like a hoax or some kind of fake story. And, I saw multiple reports, and then I was crestfallen after that.
Yeah, no, I understand. And it's just like, so the way I honestly feel was like, I mean, Black Panther was obviously his big breakthrough, but like it just felt like his career was just getting started.
Yeah.
Like after Black Panther come out, I'm like, all right, he's gonna be, I can't wait to see, what's gonna lead next, and all these, and Black Panther still feels like it's still a relatively new movie. It's just like, it's just gone too soon, and I've heard nothing. And for the record, I'm just gonna say right now, I mean, I've heard nothing but good outside Hollywood and his movies. I've heard nothing but good things about him.
Yeah. The same. No one really ever spoke a bad word about him. Like I said, he was very committed to the work itself, and he was like you said, his star was beginning to rise. Yeah. And it's sad because I really think that he would have been, not that he wasn't already a big star, but I think that he, would have been he would have been an even bigger star had he been.
He had much more to give.
Yeah, much more, on the horizon for him. So, to sort of close this out, I for one am definitely going to miss him and I not look forward to, but, I'll just continue to sort of look back at some of the great movies that he's done, some of the great TV even that he's done, and just keep his memory alive that way. Yeah.
All right. So, all right, my outro is going to be a little bit different. Obviously, it's just, we Chadwick Boseman, you're in a better place now. I'm glad you're not suffering anymore. And, thank you for all your hard work and for, entertaining us and inspiring everybody with the movies that you've done. And it's just, you're going to be missed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we go, we ask you to please like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell. Let everybody know, let all your friends know about NerdCage Live. We appreciate the support, and I would see from Syracuse to Louisville to all of our friends and fans of the world at NerdCage Live. Please enjoy life, love each other, stay safe, be excellent to each other, and good night.
Wakanda forever.
Ooh, trying to get out of the NerdCage, are ya? Well, before you go, hit that subscribe button. And if you're really intrigued, ring that bell. Thank you for dropping by. Until next time, tell everyone you know about NerdCage Live!